Ay, me déjala.
Hey, welcome to Madam Whip-Ass Reads. And hopefully this will be the third and final part to this book, Sex Me, Confessions of Daddy's Little Freak. Some little freak of R. Kelly's apparently wrote this book, and it's only available online. Lord have mercy. That's right. I said, Lord have mercy. Because this is a trip. But without further ado, I'm going to get into it. I tell you, I just really want to finish it quickly. I'm just curious to see how it ends up. Does it end up, in a constructive, positive manner, or what? I mean, does she get away because she had some sort of epiphany and don't want to be his freak no more, or a freak at all? Did she get filled with the Holy Ghost? Did she have a come to Jesus moment? I'm just curious to see how all of this just wraps up. Aren't you? Me too. But I wish I can get through it without all the graphic sexual detail. But that's just not going to happen. All right. So here we go. Let me turn the phone this way. All right. So this chapter is, well, I had the chapter. Why did you turn like that? No. I'm coming, y'all. I turned the phone around and it flipped out on me. Okay. This chapter is called Let's Be Real Now. All right. Okay. Funny how time flies when you're having fun, right? Allow me to share the morning of my 18th birthday with you. You mean to tell me she wasn't even 18 and doing all of that? This is why he likes them young, because he can mold them into freaky dingbats. Oh, I'm sorry. I digress. Stick to the book, right? Okay. Funny how time flies when you're having fun, right? Allow me to share the morning of my 18th birthday with you. We were just getting off tour. I just so happened to wake up before Rob one morning, which rarely happens because he rarely sleeps. But I went to the bathroom and there was so much pain. I looked at my area and saw what looked like blisters at the entrance. I freaked the fuck out. Rob walked in and asked me what was wrong. I started crying as I showed him. I told him I need to go to the doctor ASAP, like I was really freaking out. He told me to calm down and he'd call his in-house physician. Daddy doesn't do hospitals. I really wanted to go alone, but he wouldn't let me. He said people knew I was his girl, and because he's a celebrity, they would do creepy shit like try to sell my hospital records, etc. So I agreed to be seen by this in-house doc. We'll call him Dr. Smith. I'm sorry that I'm stumbling over words, but I'm reading and trying to process. This chick got stuff growing out of her coochie and bumps and pains, and she just turned 18. But you fucking all these people, what you expect? Oh, sorry. Let me stick to the book. Sorry. Let me get something to drink. Let me just take a sip. Okay. It was so awkward laying on a hotel bed getting checked by some strange white man, but I was dying to know what was wrong. I was only 18 and had never had so much as a yeast infection. I was so scared. And when Dr. Smith finished his examination, he wrote some things down and treated me as if I was an infant. He didn't tell me what he found. He went to Daddy. He gave Daddy the medication and told him everything that needed to be done. I was pissed. Hello? Like, what the fuck? So I impatiently harassed Rob about the results. He just looked pissed and sat in the corner looking out the room window. He slid me the paper without looking at me. I quickly snatched it. Hell, he can barely read anyway, so I didn't know why the hell the doctor gave it to him in the first place. My stomach dropped as soon as I read it. What? I couldn't believe this. I'd never seen anything other than a mole on his dick. Was I reading this correctly? Then the tears started flowing, and all I can do was ask him why. He didn't say a word. He just kept looking out the window. I started yelling and screaming. Look at me, Rob. Look at me. Why? Answer me, damn it. I knew he knew. I just knew he fucking knew. How could he do this to me and then sit there like he didn't even fucking care? This was my life. This was some shit I'd have to live with forever. I couldn't believe it. And do y'all know he never even looked at me? No eye contact, no explanation. Once I stopped yelling and just laid down, sobbing in my pillow, he got up from the chair and said with my back turned to him, "You said you wanted me, right? And everything that came with me. Now you got it. Deal with it." I'll make sure you get your medicine. And just like that, he left the room, slammed the door, and we never discussed our condition again. I remember I tried to bring it up once before a session we had with these two chicks he had me recruit. If they don't ask, you don't tell them. And if they do ask, there's nothing to tell. After over a year, I was finally meeting the real him, cold-blooded. Y'all, I'm pausing so I can let this sink in for you. Down low. Meanwhile, Daddy had for sure started some shit I honestly didn't know how to kick. For 6 months, me and Ray creeped around. Every day Daddy left, Ray would leave post and break all his damn rules. I remember the very first time Daddy left for his normal all-nighter at the studio. I heard the door open as I was drying off in the bathroom. I thought for sure maybe he'd forgot something, but as I bent over to dry my legs, I smelled Ray's cologne, and then I felt him push up behind me. Ray was always so gentle with me. He knew just what my body needed, but most of all, he knew just what I needed. I was so torn, and it was odd. It was like Ray had changed. He was still very protective of me, but he definitely didn't seem like much of a fan of Daddy these days. He filled me up with information per usual, but this information terrified me, and I couldn't help but question if he had just made these things up because he had fallen for me. He went against my initial request of not mentioning the girls to share horror stories of Daddy locking them up, starving them for days, beating them, and even told me in addition to the living girlfriends, Daddy was helping run a sex trafficking ring and kept a large amount of girls in an abandoned warehouse he purchased under a runner's name. I was so confused. He painted Daddy to be this monster, and for the most part, I felt like it was bullshit. But something in my gut, as crazy as it sounds, believed it. My behavior around Daddy began to change. I would jump when he'd move his hand. Everything made me nervous. Those stories had me bugging. I started paying extra close attention to everything he did, said, his body language, just everything. I didn't take any of the drugs he fed me anymore. I just fake it and spit it out when he wasn't looking. I took Ray's advice and no longer allowed him to fix my food. I didn't eat or drink anything he gave me. Ray told me he had been drugging me the majority of the time through food and drink, and that's why I was always so tired and blacked out so much. It was crazy, but now that I was paying attention and making changes, I did feel a lot better. I had plenty of energy, and my thought process and memory was spotless, unlike before. Okay, so I'm sorry, I have to pause here. Ray is now telling her that the majority of the time, Kel's been drugging her through food and drink unbeknownst to her. And it's like you knew this was happening to this chick. And not only this chick, who else is he doing this to? As far as I'm concerned, you're a complicit and an accessory to a crime, and you're a culprit in all of this shit. But I guess in this situation, she needs to lean and depend on somebody. When I was with Daddy, I just stare at him like, who the hell is this nigga, man? I knew we'd fought before, but I also knew I was crazy as hell and had a mouth that could make a nigga want to slit my throat. I could really be a bitch when I wanted to be, but damn, could he really be beating these bitches and locking them up? Nah, he couldn't be. But then again, this was the same man who knowingly gave me an incurable disease, showed no compassion, and told me to deal with it. I remember asking Ray if all this mess was true. How could he live with himself, basically helping this man kidnap and abuse young girls and women? Exactly, dingbat. Some things are easy to get into and harder to get out of. Your daddy has some pretty dangerous gang affiliations, and niggas really do come up missing behind a lot of this shit. My mama always told me to ease my way out of the lion's mouth. If I took nothing else from my time with Ray, those words were imprinted in my mind. Always ease your way out of the lion's mouth. I had no idea that conversation would be my last with Ray. I never saw him again. And when I asked Daddy what happened to him, he never answered me. I can't sleep if I. I woke up from what felt like the best nap ever. Daddy always drained and put me to sleep. I went to use the restroom, ignoring his latest odd request of me urinating in that bowl. I thought it was ridiculous, and he knew from past experiences when I had my mind made up about something, there was no changing it. I yawned, rubbed my eyes, and stretched my body out. It was quiet, so I figured Daddy left. I went on to tackle my usual shower routine, brush my teeth, wash my face, hair, you know the drill. After my shower, amid me brushing my teeth, Daddy appeared. He hugged me from behind and kissed me gently on my shoulder, neck, and cheeks. He told me how beautiful I was and how lucky he was to have me. He always knew just what to say to make me blush or smile. I turned around to hug him, but I noticed he looked a little different. She's a fucking dingbat. How are you still messing with this dude? Why aren't you running home to your grandma? If there was one thing I knew about Daddy, it's that he hides behind those shades. I went for the glasses and he stopped me, but I snatched them off anyway. And when I looked in his eyes, I could tell he had been crying. He immediately hung his head low. It's crazy, but when it came to him, my motherly instincts instantly kicked in. I always wanted to protect him at all costs. With his face in the palm of my hands, I lifted his head and kissed him 100 times. I could taste the salt from his tears, but I didn't care. He was hurting, and that meant I was hurting too. And I didn't know what was wrong, but I never forced him to talk. I understood it was hard for him to open up, but I knew when he was ready, he would. He hugged me so tight I thought he'd break my ribs, but I knew he needed me. I just rubbed him gently and told him I was here and that I wasn't going anywhere. And he picked me up and took me to the bed. He made love to me, and during he cried. I wanted to know what was on his mind so bad, but I just wiped his tears and let him have me any way he wanted. This dude got a serious sex addiction and all these people around him. This chick, when she met him, she didn't have no sex addicted, but he sure did make sure she got one. This is ridiculous. When he's happy, he want to have sex. When he's miserable, he want to have sex. He want to have all kinds of sex with anything, anybody, any kind of way. One person, 6 people, 18 people. Afterwards, we just laid there quietly watching the ceiling fan. After about 10 minutes, he finally began to talk. He told me he was scared. He told me it had been a long time since he felt how he felt about me, about anyone. He told me he knew what I thought about him and all these women, but he honestly had no feelings attached. He said his greatest fear is being alone. Yep. So he's been trying to fill this void, but it seems like no matter how many women he's had, it's never filled. Of course not. But then there's you. He told me I challenged him. You don't let me just do any and everything to you. You're strong. What? And I can be myself with you. You've accepted me for everything that I am, and you never judged me or made me feel bad. You don't let me do just anything and everything to you. That's a damn lie. What the fuck? She didn't stop him right there? No, because she's a dingbat. Baby girl, I'm feeling like I'm falling in love with you, and I'm scared. I'm scared you'll leave, and I know I can't handle it if you do. I can't even sleep unless I know you're near. I was in shock. I didn't know what to say. He wanted me to promise him I'd always stay no matter what. He told me he was ready to go all the way with me, but would I stay even if he fucked up? I told him I would, and it kills me sitting here reliving this moment because I did leave. But anyway, he fell asleep laying on my chest, and I just watched him. It was then that I realized I was really falling in love with this man. I didn't give a damn about the rumors. I didn't give a damn about his problems. I just loved him. I was in love with him. I'm confused. I don't know. I don't know how you fall in love with a person who knew that they had herpes and they infected you, and then when you confront them, they was like, "Bitch, you wanted me, so now you got what everything I got and deal with it." That is not love. But I know y'all don't want to hear this shit. You want me to keep reading? All right, going back to the book. Barely breathing. The next few months were interesting. Daddy had been talking marriage a lot and drilling me with 1,000,001 what if scenarios. I guess I was excited about it too, but I can't lie. Him keeping me separate from those chicks didn't make me forget they existed. I wanted them gone. If he wanted to go all the way with me, I felt I shouldn't have been all he needed. I don't know when he'd see them or even where they were, but I knew. I just knew he wasn't done with them. I'm wondering, do you think this daddy's little freak chick might be his ex-wife, Drea, whatever her name is, Drea Kelly? I don't know. Just a thought. I remember waking up feeling real bitchy one day. I have something called PPMD. So I have serious ass mood swings right before that time of the month. But I woke up feeling real bitchy, showered, did my thing, and got back in bed. I don't know where the hell he was, but it was probably best he wasn't around because I was in a sour ass mood, and out of nowhere, I just started wondering where those bitches were. Was he still sleeping with them? Was he still seeing them? Would I have to deal with them throughout our marriage? Was that what he meant by even if he fucked up? My thoughts were racing and I became angry. In the midst of my racing thoughts, Daddy FaceTimed me. Oddly, his timing was always in sync with my thoughts. His face lit up when he saw me. I could tell he was in the studio by his background. He asked if I was okay and if I needed anything. I told him I was and that I didn't. He asked if I was sure I was okay, and I told him yes. He said okay, he just wanted to check on me and he loved me. I just hung up. 45 minutes later, he was waking me up with kisses. I asked what he was doing back so early. I honestly thought he'd be in the studio all night. And he said, what kind of man would I be if I didn't know when something wasn't right with my baby? I can't lie. Him saying that made me smile, but my thoughts were running wild. He sat down and signaled for me to come sit on his lap. I did, and he asked what was on my mind. I instantly started crying. My tears were like a waterfall, and I'll never forget how overprotective and angry he got. He thought someone had did something to me or said something crazy. I told him that wasn't it, so he calmed down and said in the softest voice, well, baby, tell Daddy what's wrong. You know you could talk to me. I looked him in his eyes and called him by his first name, and I never do that. But I asked him if he was still seeing those girls. He laughed, and I was infuriated. He was like, calm down, Rocky. Is that what you worried about? I told him yes. I told him I didn't want to share him with anybody anymore. I told him I wanted them gone. I told him I wouldn't be with him if he didn't get rid of them. I told him I couldn't. He separated himself from me while rolling his eyes, said he was leaving because I was tripping. I just sat there looking dumbfounded because I couldn't believe he was really giving me the cold shoulder over this. When he left, he slammed the door so hard it felt like the floor rumbled. I knew he was pissed. I just started crying again. My thoughts continued to race, but now I was thinking, damn, did I fuck up? Maybe I should have just let shit flow. Maybe I should have said anything. But then there was that voice that was like, don't you dare feel guilty for knowing your worth and putting your foot down. Don't you dare compromise your happiness for him. Don't you dare. Well, my, that is not so ding-baddish at all. Good for you. Well, let's see where you go from here. Daddy didn't come back that night, nor the next day night, nor the next. He didn't call either, not even a text. If I was any other bitch, perhaps I would have called him. But I'm me, and not even this nigga could cut my pride down to the point where I'd call his ass when I knew I was right. Anytime I even thought about it, I just replayed his tears in my mind and that conversation we had in bed. He wanted me. He loves me. He's pissed, but he'll come around. So I went about my days as normal. I worked out. I read books. I found a dance class to attend, and I did my thing. Day in and day out, I left and returned to my suite with no issue. I even took myself shopping and got me a swimsuit. Found myself hitting the pool late night one night. And I was missing him like crazy, I can't lie. But I figured maybe a late night swim would clear my mind. It didn't, though. I kept thinking about how good he was probably looking on somebody's basketball court right now. Daddy loved to play ball at night, and he was damn good at it. Tighten up, I told myself. I got out the pool, dried off, and enjoyed the breeze hitting my ass cheeks as I walked back to the room in my bikini. And when I entered the room, there he was, and he was pissed. I saw an empty bottle of Hennessy on the table next to a melting cup of ice. My heart skipped a beat. I don't know why, but I was terrified. I could tell he had been drinking, and the look in his eye was more than anger. I could tell he had something else in his system as well. 3 things Daddy liked for certain: pussy, a stiff drink, and his drugs. He looked at me and said, "You know what fucking time it is?" But before I could blink, he had rushed me and lifted me clean off the ground by my throat. He snatched a towel from me and hit me repeatedly, asking what the fuck was my problem. Who the fuck did I think I was playing? What the fuck I had on? And who I was fucking. You think I'm one of these dumbass cats? The fuck you take me for, huh? Who the fuck you been with? You know I don't play that shit. I couldn't breathe. So I just knew he couldn't have realistically expected me to speak, but he did. Because the next thing you know, he squeezed my throat harder and said, "Answer me, bitch." I just cried. He slapped me so hard I temporarily went blind in one eye. He ripped off my thong and threw me on the bed. Here we go, y'all. With one arm, he held me down, and with the other, he checked my coochie. I couldn't believe him. I just remember thinking, wow, you disappear on me for days and don't call, but you checking to see if I've been unfaithful? Nigga, I should be checking your dick. The nerve of him. After he was done with his stupid ass finger check, it should come to no surprise what he did next. Yes, he fucked me. I still remember how painful it was when he shoved it in. He fucked me for what it felt like hours. Picture moans, pussy compliments, and threats combined. He cussed me out the entire time, telling me, pardon me, telling me what I better not do and what he'd do if I did this or that. Let me find out. He kept saying that shit. By dawn, he had nutted in me 3 times and passed out with his dick still inside me. He was snoring so loud in my damn ear I couldn't think straight, and I could feel his dick fluctuating from soft to hard all night. Really? What the? By the time the sun came up, I had to pee so bad, and I wanted his heavy ass off me, but he woke up with a rock hard dick. I literally felt it grow and fill my walls as he started moaning and fucking me again. His whole body shook as he fed me long strokes, whispering in my ear how good my coochie was and how he was going to beat my coochie every morning for life. I was disgusted. Now you're disgusted. After 2 years of fucking plenty of bitches together, of fucking him and his boyfriend together, of getting beat up and fed all types, now you're disgusted. You should have been disgusted 1,000 times ago. The fuck is wrong with you? Oh, sorry, you're a dingbat. Okay. I don't mean it. That's the name of the book. I did mean that she's a dingbat. I mean, the title of the next chapter. I don't mean it. After the sex was over, I was finally able to run to the restroom. My bladder felt like it was about to explode. Rob yelled from the room, "Pee in that cup on the sink." Why he want her pissing in cups? This is weird. I looked over my shoulder in disgust and rolled my eyes. Fuck it, I thought. He acts like he gonna drink this shit or something. Hell, I don't even care anymore. If he wants fucking urine, I'll give it to him. So yeah, y'all, as crazy as it sounds, I just peed in the damn cup. He been asking for months and I just finally did it. He wants you to pee in the cup for what? To bring to the doctor? For what? What does he want your piss for? Is he drug testing you? Well, he feeds you drugs. So what does he want your urine for? Is he a doctor? The nigga can't read. We know he did not even pass the 5th grade. Probably. What does he want your piss for? I put the cup on the sink, and when I was done, I caught a glimpse of my face. Daddy walked in right as the surprise, anger, and pain began to register on my face. I couldn't believe it. You never can believe shit. Why? Because you're a fucking dingbat. I've been in a million street fights and never left with a scratch. Now here I was. My face was swollen, black and blue, lip cut, eyes black. I couldn't stop the tears from falling. Look at my face. I was screaming inside. My beautiful face. Look what he did to me. And he got the nerve to ask you for some piss behind all of that. My whole body started to tremble. And once I got past looking at my own reflection in the mirror, I set my eyes on him. And before I could utter a word, he fell to his knees beside me, started crying and begging me for my forgiveness. He kept calling himself done, said he didn't know why he did it. Kept saying something about not being right in the head and always fucking up a good thing. Kept saying he didn't mean it. He even said he understood if I couldn't forgive him because he couldn't forgive himself for what he did to me. This nigga know he ain't right in the head, huh? Or does he know the right things to say to these dingbat bitches? You decide. I just stood there motionless in silence. I looked at this pathetic ass down there crying, and then I looked in the mirror at my face. I looked back at his insecure ass down there crying, and I looked in the mirror at my fucking face. Went back and forth between these two sights a few times. My mind was made up. Fuck him. Fuck his hand in marriage, and fuck all this shit. I was getting the fuck out of here, but I didn't utter one fucking word about how I really felt. But I did manage to utter 4 words. Daddy, I forgive you. Half on a baby. Was everything cool now? Hell fuck no, but I wasn't going to blow my cover at this point. Look how he overreacted about me not being in my room after he abandoned me for 4 days. No, I just had to play things cool and act normal. Hell, my plan was to act better than normal. It should come as no surprise he wanted more sex after I told him I forgave him. This man has the sexual libido of the fucking Energizer Bunny, and I gave it to him. I sucked his thing like my life depended on it. Excuse me. Let me take. Here we go again. Let me take a sip. Because she's a dingbat. And I must read all of these sex sessions like a dingbat. I sucked his dick like my life depended on it, kissing it, licking it, spitting, gripping it, and jacking it just how he liked it. I spit on his balls, put them in my mouth, and made shit real messy. Daddy loves nasty shit like that. He likes when you're confident, seductive, talk dirty, put in work, and keep that shit wet and messy. And I was everything he liked, especially in this moment. I slowly slid his dick down my throat while still jacking and playing with his balls with my other hand, and his moans grew louder and louder. And right when it felt like he was about to nut, I stopped. I got up, walked over to my gym bag. His face immediately looked pissed. When Daddy's in the mood, nothing else matters, so he wanted to know why the fuck I stopped. I said nothing. Just grabbed a dildo from my gym bag, came back to the bed, and straddled him from the back. I couldn't stand the sight of him at the moment, but the sight of my ass bouncing around while I rode his dick would please him just as much as eye contact. I turned on the TV, and the sounds of the buff men moaning seemed to roar loudly. I left the volume up, put him inside me, positioned the dildo in his ass, and went to work. He couldn't fucking take it. The way I rode dick always drove his ass crazy, and he voluntarily adding the anal play. I'm sorry. And me voluntarily adding the anal play was driving him insane. I don't know whose moans were louder, mine, his, or the porn on TV. My coochie was so wet it was ridiculous. I slow winded, grinded, and bounced on his dick until he shook so hard I thought he was having a seizure. And with his nut still oozing from inside me, he flipped me over and made me hold my legs behind my head. I did as I was told, and he sucked every bit of that nut out of my He ate me until I felt like I couldn't breathe. Kept calling me daddy's little freak. He kept saying he loved when I let her out and asking if I wanted more. And he wanted me to say yes, so I did. He got up and put his dick back in me and gave me more and more dick, and my body shook and my coochie squirted repeatedly until we eventually both passed out. Y'all ain't tired of listening to this shit? Just a question. Oh, hi, James Gordon. I guess not. Okay, I'm continuing. When I woke up, Daddy was already up. And from the looks of the steamy bathroom and the towel wrapped around him, he had already showered. He walked out glistening, and at first I noticed how hard his dick got when he looked at me. He gave me the look, and I knew what it meant. I fell to my knees and gave him what he needed. It didn't take him long, and when I got up, he kissed me, smacked me on my ass, and told me to get cleaned up. I hit the shower with no hesitation. I almost want to ask a question. Never mind. I won't ask. Other than the question is, what did he do with the piss? What did he want with the urine? That's what I want to know. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting back to the book. 20 minutes into my shower, he was yelling for me to get out because he was about to leave. I was nowhere near done, but I did what I was told and got out so I could kiss, hug, compliment, and embrace him before he left for the studio. Daddy was big on acknowledgement. He let me know he probably wouldn't be back till the next day because he had a lot to get finished up. I nodded and said, okay. He grabbed my face and kissed me so passionately while grabbing my ass. I think I creamed. I was so confused. My mind was saying, leave his abusive ass. My body always yearned for him, and my heart still loved him. Suddenly, we heard a few of his crew at the door telling him it was time, and I could tell they probably had already been sipping on something. I needed some of whatever they had, but Daddy yelled out to give him 10 minutes. And from there, he cuffed my ass, picked me up, and gave me head for at least 5 before I squirted everywhere. I am exhausted from all of this sex. I'm tired. I don't want any more. No matter how angry I was with him or hurt I was by him, he knew my body and she loved him. He laid me down on the bed and, really? Come on. All right, here we go again. He laid me down on the bed and sucked my nipples while undressing from the waist down and took 10 of the deepest strokes in me you could ever imagine. And with a tight grip around my throat, he told me he loved me. It was so good I cried. He wiped my tears, kissed me, and told me we were going to be all right. And with the blink of an eye, his pants were up and he was out the door. This is lunacy, sexual lunacy. Who fucks this much? At this point, my mind was playing tricks on me. I paced the floor back and forth, back and forth. I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. Was I really about to leave or not? If I was, there was no time to spare. I had to do it tonight. That stunt he pulled before he left kept playing over and over again in my mind. Fuck, I needed it to stop looping. I had to get out, I told myself. I had to train myself to think about the bad, not the good nor the sex. There weren't as many bad times, but they were severe enough to put a stop to things now. This was only going to get worse. And just like that, I finalized my decision and packed my bags. Baby, 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 baby. Being back at Grandma's house felt good. I was at peace, felt safe and loved. There was no arguing or backhand slaps, just me and my Nana. I'll never forget the look of horror on her face when I showed up with my bags. She cried, asking me what happened to my face, and I cried while holding my head down in shame and lying to her. I told her a crazed fan attacked me at one of Daddy's shows, and I was upset with him for not having me better protected and allowing it to happen. I remember her telling me, oh, baby, you can't be mad with him forever about this. It comes with the life. That wasn't his fault. I knew she was right, but if only she knew the half of what was really going on. I just nodded my head and told her she was right. And then I asked if I could come home anyway, and she welcomed me with open arms. As the weeks went by, I found my face fully healed and back to normal. I was back jogging every day and just overall feeling better about myself. I never realized how much I missed a home-cooked meal until I had one. With Daddy, everything was takeout. However, the oddest thing happened one day when I asked my Nana to make my favorite. I don't know what it was. The food tasted great, but for some reason, I couldn't hold it down. I wasn't sure at first of what I was feeling, but when my mouth began to fill with saliva, I knew, and I ran to the bathroom. I threw up everywhere. I was so confused. I was never the vomiting type. And after I got the bathroom all cleaned up, I excused myself and told Nana I wasn't feeling so well. I went to my room and laid down. I couldn't stop thinking about what just happened. Why the hell did I just throw up? Then it hit me like a lightning bolt. I sat up in bed. It had been 4 months since I left Rob. We never used protection, and more often than not, he nutted inside me. Oh my God, I was gonna be sick. I can't be pregnant. I just can't be. I quickly jumped out of the bed, went to my dresser, and grabbed a test from my top drawer. Me and my girls always used to grab a bunch from the dollar store, joking about never knowing when we may need it. Fuck. Why'd I have to need it? Okay, so you ain't been home in damn near 2 years, and you gonna use a 2-year-old pregnancy test? Okay, that's been sitting in your top drawer. Okay. Waiting those few minutes for those results were the scariest minutes of my life. I still love Daddy, but a baby? I wasn't ready for kids, nor did I want him to have a for sure link to me for life. I was loving my freedom, being back home and having peace of mind. In the midst of my thoughts, I looked over and saw both those fucking lines. Fuck. Yeah, well, that's how it got there. I ran to my room and cried, and I cried for an entire hour. Why, God? Why? Because you've been fucking, that's why. You saw him beat me. You know what I just ran away from. Why you let me get pregnant? You got your own self pregnant, you dingbat. What you blaming God for? I just couldn't stop the tears. I was terrified. I'm no killer. I didn't want to abort the baby, but how could I have it? I hadn't talked to Daddy since I left, and when I got to my grandma's house, I powered my phone down, tucked it in my drawer, and hadn't touched it since. I didn't know what to do. I don't want to tell him. He'll make me keep it for sure, I thought. Hell, I don't even want to talk to him. And then he walked in. I almost pissed myself when I saw him. Well, I'm sure he would have liked it. I closed my eyes real hard and opened them to make sure I wasn't dreaming. What the fuck was he doing here after 4 months? I thought for sure maybe he'd forgotten about me by now. Wouldn't this have been something he did just a few days or maybe a week after I left? I mean, just what the fuck was he doing here? And then his spells start to hit me. He smelled so good. He had a fresh cut, dressed in all black, looking dapper, draped in his Cuban links with that cigar in his mouth. He looked at me and smirked, handed me a huge bouquet of pink roses, and he said, "Hey, baby, Daddy missed you." I wiped my tears and trembled a little as I said, "Hey, Daddy." He told me not to be scared and come give him a hug. It's funny he said that because I was terrified, but I figured I was safe at my grandma's. She loved him and thought he was a total angel. So I knew he couldn't act up here. You sure he ain't fucking your grandma? I got up and gave him a big hug. I know it sounds crazy, but I always melt in his arms. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just cracking up with what I just said. He probably is fucking her grandma. Why not? Probably get some of her piss too. Okay. I'm going back to the book. Okay. All right. All right. Where was I? I got up and gave him a big hug. I know it sounds crazy, but I always melt in his arms. It felt so good laying on his chest, and then I just bawled and cried my eyes out. I know y'all are probably thinking, damn, this bitch is always crying, but y'all have no idea how much turmoil I was going through on the inside. I loved this man. I mean, I really, really loved this man with all of me. And now I knew I was carrying his child, but I couldn't even be happy about it because of what we were going through. I just wanted him to be right. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want his anger and misunderstandings to end in violence. I didn't want to be the main one. I wanted to be his only one. I was all over the place. He had me so torn. As I cried, he just rubbed my hair and kept kissing me, saying, baby, it's okay. Daddy missed you too. And he had no idea what I was really thinking. I asked him what took him so long to come and get me, and he told me he called a million times, but I never answered. And I started saying the voicemail was full. And he told me he left tons of messages, and I figured this was probably true. I powered my phone off and tossed it since day one of my return home. And he told me he thought I didn't love him anymore. And I remember crying, telling him I could never stop loving you, Rob, never. And then he asked the question I had been dreading. So why did you leave me? He looked serious and pissed. He's always pissed, ain't he? If he ain't pissed, he pissing on somebody or asking somebody for their piss. He began to stutter a little and said, you really hurt me. I thought we were in this together. You promised me you'd never leave, even if I fucked up. So why? I just stood there quiet. I put my head down. I didn't know what to say. And in the inside, I was screaming, you're hurt? No, I'm hurt, and you promised me you'd never hurt me, but you did. I don't want you hitting me because you're mad. I'm not your punching bag. I'm not a punching bag, and I don't want you disappearing on me because you're mad or tripping on me because I want you to myself. But instead, all I could get out was, I don't know. He had no idea. It hurt me more to leave him than it probably hurt him finding out I was gone. This shit was a mess. I put the roses down on the table and I noticed he closed / locked my room door behind him. I knew he wanted me. He backed me into the corner and started to strip me while staring in my eyes. All right, y'all ready for this? Because here we go again. I told him I didn't feel comfortable with my nana in the next room, and he told me she met him outside when he pulled up and said she was going to the store for a few hours. Relieved to hear, breathing hard and doped up on lust, I helped him take my clothes off. I went for his pants and he stopped me, told me he was running this show. He bent me over the bed, spread my ass cheeks and stuck his face in. He ate it so good. My coochie and my ass. He smacked my ass, kissed and sucked on my ass cheeks. It didn't take me long to scream. I felt him stop and started to look behind me, but he instructed me to close my eyes and stay looking forward. I did as I was told. He told me to arch my back and put my hands behind me. I did as I was told. The next thing I knew, he cuffed and blindfolded me. He spanked me and told me I had been a bad girl. It hurt like hell, but I liked it. With every spank, I got wetter. And then he slid his dick in nice and slow, and my coochie was tight. It gripped daddy just right. He started to moan as soon as he got the head and kept saying how warm and tight it was. He started off slow and then sped up. If I moved out of position, he spanked me and instructed me to arch my back deeper and deeper. My juices were everywhere. I was so turned on. I loved how he took control. I loved it when he was forceful with me in bed. He kept whispering this was daddy's coochie. As I threw it back, I moaned that it was. That's good, baby. Daddy loves his coochie. Fuck this coochie good, baby. Fuck, daddy about to bust in his coochie. And he nutted. It was so warm, and I felt it oozing down my thighs when he pulled out, and I thought he was finished. But he smacked his dick on my ass, grabbed me by the cuffs, and put him back in. It was like something got into him and he went crazy in it. It was so good I couldn't catch my breath. I missed Daddy's dick so much, and he shook uncontrollably inside me, and he went so deep it hurt a little, but it didn't stop him. I took every inch and I took every thrust. Fuck, I was so moist, I just started screaming, "Fuck me, Daddy." And he was like, "You want Daddy to fuck you?" I screamed, "Yes." And it was so fucking good. I didn't want him to stop. Something about the way he grinded in it. Something about the way he smacked my ass and played with my clit while going down deep. Something about his voice while he whispered dirty shit to me. If I could be a bitch at any time, it was while he fucked me. I loved when he told me I was his bitch and called me daddy's little freak. I loved when he owned me. But wait, he slowed it down and went stroke for stroke, questioning me. "You love daddy?" "Yes," I moaned. "You miss daddy?" "Oh, yes, daddy." "Whose pussy is this, huh?" "Daddy's." "Oh, Jesus. Who?" "Daddy's," I screamed. "You coming home with daddy?" "Yes, daddy." "We gonna have this problem again?" He spanked me. "No, daddy." "No, I can't hear you. We gonna have this problem again?" He spanked me harder. "No, daddy. Where you belong?" Fuck, I couldn't think straight. This dick was too damn good. "I said where you belong," he yelled at me as he spanked me, moaning, "With daddy." "Turn over and put your hands above your head." Y'all, all right, that's enough. Last paragraph, and then I'm going to break. I guess there'll be a part 4. I can only take but so much of this shit. "Turn over and put your hands above your head," he whispered. Still cuffed, I did as I was told. He kissed me, and I stuck my tongue in his mouth, kissed him back, and bit his lip a little while he removed the blindfold. He got on top of me, put his dick in my mouth, and when he released it, I felt his warm babies going down my throat. Ugh. I swallowed every drop. He ran his dick over my lips, my titties, and played in my juices as he stuck it back in. And he whispered to me he couldn't get enough, and we had to leave ASAP before he really lost it and Grandma came home. He couldn't stop. He said he needed all of me, and he wanted me round for round. I remember giggling and asking him how we could leave with him still inside me. He moaned as he stroked, and then I couldn't stop my moans either. There was no stopping us. I wrapped my legs around him and threw this pussy all the way back. His moans got louder and louder, and I started screaming fuck in my name. He had never done that before. And then I heard my nana scream, "Fuck, it's time for y'all to go home." I never saw him pull out so fast. We jumped like two kids getting caught hunching and died laughing. He yelled out, "Sorry, Ma," and told me to pack my bag. He said just to grab anything I absolutely needed and we could buy the rest later. I did as I was told. We came out the room hand in hand smiling. My Nana was pleased. Who was I fooling? I was pleased too. It was like I gave him a clean slate. I had no idea of the fate that awaited me upon my return. Daddy quickly made his truck a sex scene. I don't think we got halfway down the block before he wanted head and for me to ride him. One thing's for sure, I never denied him. I suppose his molding in that area was successful. As many times as it gets hard, it was my job as his woman to handle it. That's what Daddy taught me, and that's what I did. Okay, there's about 15 pages left to read. Well, part 2 is up, Mama Cedar. James Gordon, how are you? Zero Lightness, hello. Okay. I guess I can get through the rest of the 15 pages. I just need a break. How long have I been reading? I don't know what time I started, but let me just get a break. Um, you know what? Let me just get a break. I want to hear this song again. We're gonna listen to this song. Hush. All right, here we go. Just taking a break. All right. We are back. I'm going to try and finish this up. I have 15 more pages to go. Okay, here we go. When a Woman Sped Up. That's the title of this chapter. Upon our return, things were great, or so I thought, until about 3 hours into our evening. Everything was fine, and then it's like he just snapped. He turned to me and started yelling. He grabbed me, choked me, slapped me, and beat me until I blacked out. To this day, all I remember is him calling me a stupid bitch and screaming about me leaving him. It was like a child having a violent tantrum. And I just remember crying, thinking, I thought we were good. I thought everything was fine. I woke up in shock. I don't know how long I had been out for, but it felt like it had just happened. I was in so much pain. My stomach was killing me, and I went to rub it for comfort and realized I was tied to the bed. I tried everything to get loose, but the cuffs were digging in my skin. They were so tight. I was there for hours. It was the most degrading experience of my life. Here I was in all of this pain, bleeding, and pretty sure I was miscarrying right in this bed. I held my bladder so long I eventually just peed on myself. I was starving and nauseated at the same time. I was able to turn over slightly to keep from choking on my vomit, and my mouth was so dry. He didn't even leave me water, Jesus. I just remember thinking this was it, and I was going to die right there in that bed, and I almost did. Dr. Smith told me when he was called there, I had been tied for 3 days, was covered in blood, piss, and vomit, and unconscious. He told me they said Rob freaked out and called him from a McDonald's. Can you believe that? This nigga flipped out after finding what possibly could have been my dead body and went to grab a double cheeseburger. Dr. Smith said he knew immediately I had miscarried, and Rob was, of course, shocked because he didn't know there was a baby. But nevertheless, Dr. Smith said he let him know I had to get to the hospital ASAP if I was going to survive. Do you know they told me he kept saying no, afraid of what I would say when I wake up? But this was the man I loved, ladies and gentlemen. This selfish fucking bastard. Thankfully, Dr. Smith already had an ambulance on the way, ignored Rob, and rushed me to the ER anyway. I owe him my life, truly. Upon regaining consciousness, I recall waking up to this ugly older black chick. She really had a distinctive face, and when she began to speak, her Jamaican accent was strong. She told me not to say a word, and Rob wanted to talk to me as soon as I woke up. Well, who the fuck are you? She claimed to be my new caretaker hired by Rob. The hell she wasn't. Before I could verbalize that, Dr. Smith walked in and greeted me. He was very nice. He asked her to leave the room so he could discuss some private things with me about my condition. The bitch acted like she didn't want to move. Said Rob said she needed to know everything. He urged her several times before she got the picture. That's when he shared with me everything that happened and told me I had to get away from Rob. What if next time you aren't so lucky? I was speechless. I mean, what could I say? He was right. He told me he had two daughters my age, and he'd kill a man dead for doing what Daddy was doing to me. I just laid there quiet. Was the herpes not enough? You know he knew he had that, right? Do you know how many girls I've witnessed have that exact moment with him? For God's sake, he just killed your child. I beg of you. Please let me help you. I just laid there crying, and I told him I loved him. It was the moment I realized just how fucked up I was, just how fucked up all of this shit was. This man had, in fact, just beat our baby out of me, been drugging me, having me recruit other girls to sleep with, allowed another man to sleep with me, had a house full of brainwashed girlfriends, and here I was refusing help because I loved him. Wow. I look back now and I wonder how I got so lost. How did I ever lose myself in this man to that extent? Dr. Smith gave me his personal number. He told me to memorize it and use it. He told me he'd come get me himself. That made me feel better, at least knowing I had someone I could call. In the midst of the emotions, the hired help returned with Daddy on the phone. He wanted to talk to me. I put the phone to my ear and sat there silent. He began to cry. He apologized. He said he loved me a million times and how he was going to kill himself if I would have been dead because he wouldn't have been able to live with himself. I killed our baby. I hate myself. Oh God, I didn't know. I just sat there shaking my head. He was sick. He was really fucking sick or severely full of shit. Started saying he was going to make shit up to me when they let me come home. You coming home to Daddy, right, baby? I should have said no. I should have went to the police right then and there, but instead I thought about my grandmother, my cousin, and all the people he threatened to have killed if I ever left him for real. I had to be smart about things. Then I thought about Ray. So R. Kelly threatened to kill this dingbat's grandmother and cousin if she ever left him for real. Then I thought about Ray. Always ease yourself out of the lion's mouth. So I told him yes. But something in me died that day. I didn't feel the same. I wasn't the same. He had slowly taken bits and pieces of me, but he'd left me hollow this time. I could barely walk upon our return, and Rob was still nowhere to be found. We'll call this old caretaker lady Stank Winch. Every damn day she was there. I didn't like this bitch, man. When Dr. Smith would come check on me, it was everything. I had grown fond of him, especially since he displayed genuine concern. Everything about Stank Winch gave me chills. It was like pure evil. It felt like she walked around with a dark cloud over her. And I don't want you to think I was just being difficult. Trust me, I wasn't. It was just something that wasn't right, man. And when she served me food, I refused to eat it. I kept playing Ray's voice over and over in my head. It was one thing not to trust Rob with my food, but I really didn't trust this bitch. So I only ate what Dr. Smith bought for me. A few weeks flew by, and then your favorite artist finally decided to show his fucking face. I remember being in bed and hearing his voice in the hall. He was asking how I was and where I was because he wanted to see me. And when I heard footsteps, I quickly closed my eyes and played sleep. Y'all know what's going to happen next, right? Is this going to be a hard guess? No, excuse the pun. I felt him sit down on the bed beside me and rub my face. He leaned in and kissed my forehead and said he was sorry and he loved me. His voice cracked when he said it, as if he was going to cry or something. He said he never meant to hurt me and he loved me more than anything. He just couldn't understand why he was so fucked up. He said he knew I didn't love him anymore, but he'd never stop loving me, and he pleaded with God to make me still love him and give him another chance. I wish I could have played sleep longer, but I coughed and moved around. My eyes opened as a reflex, and there he was smiling at me. Hey, baby girl, how you feeling? I stared for a few and then faintly responded, hey, daddy. He gave me this grand speech about love and how he knows God sent him his wife and me because we'd been through too much and I was still by his side through all of this. I just remember looking at him, y'all, but seeing the devil in rare form with his horns out. I laid there quietly until I eventually dozed off from my meds. I remember waking up. They didn't start fucking. Really? I'm surprised. This is the first throughout this whole book, don't you think? I remember waking up and it being after dark. The digital clock on the dresser read 2:38. I'm going to play that number, y'all. 2:38. I'll never forget it. And then I remember trying to get out of bed myself to go to the restroom. As I limped my way down the hall, I saw one of the doors cracked. It looked like candles were lit and I heard voices. And when I peeked in, I saw Daddy and Stank Winch. There were candles lit and I swear it looked like they were having a fucking seance or some shit. What? I heard her ask him something about my essence. He wanted to know how he could make me stay. She asked if he had been making me pee in the cup like she asked. I could have fucking passed out. I remember thinking, what the fuck is this? Some voodoo shit? And it was. Who knew the whole time Rob had been collecting fucking bodily fluids from me to give to this crazy ass lady? Shit felt like a crazy ass Lifetime movie. What the fuck? Who is this? Is this Jamila in this story? Something in the room fell and I moved my ass as fast as I could to get to that bathroom. Daddy came in after me and asked if I needed help. I thought about him collecting urine and said no. Of course he helped anyway. He cleaned me up and helped me back to bed. And then instead of leaving, he cuddled up next to me and sang to me till I fell asleep. What the hell? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just like, I'm bugging. He had been collecting her urine and giving it to some damn voodoo lady, a witch. No wonder why he's so demon possessed with this. And do you think this dingbat ran after hearing that? No. I'm sorry. Okay. Everything was so messed up. I could never see him the same after all of this shit. And the more I observed and found out, the harder it was for me to act normal around him. I didn't know how I was going to get out of this, but my goal was to get the fuck out. My patience had worn thin, and I had no more sympathy for his tears. Time passed. I was back to 100%, and we were back to having stupid ass arguments. Daddy's controlling behavior hit next level. Now he had a strict set of rules I was to follow, which affected everything down to my body language and style of dress. He was so paranoid these days. I just fucking didn't get it. Suddenly, my clothes weren't good enough anymore. He wanted me to wear sweats and baggy clothes that hid my shape. He wanted me to wear hats and ordered me to look down and not make eye contact with anyone. He had cameras installed and wanted me watched at all times. Shit got real spooky. I just didn't understand why he was so fucking insecure. Nothing was worse than him cuffing me to the bed every night. His excuse? It's the only way he could sleep comfortably knowing I wasn't going anywhere. And this was both when he slept with me and did it. It was pure torture, but this was my life. What the fuck? I dealt with a year of his extreme restrictions before enough was just a fucking enough. Kissing him disgusts me. Sex with him disgusts me. His voice at this point, everything about him fucking disgusted me. I remember the last straw was one night we got into a huge fight because I refused to be cuffed before bed, and that was it. I wasn't scared anymore. I was back to myself and I was fighting back. Daddy told Stank Witch to hold me down. I kicked him in the nuts as hard as I could and hit her over the head with a face. Good. I was wild. I didn't give a fuck. I was done and I was getting the fuck out of there. Dr. Smith was already waiting in the spot we discussed to come get me, and that gave me even more courage to fight back like hell. All I could think about was getting back to Grandma's, and when I got out that door, I ran and I never looked back. I was terrified and I couldn't stop crying. That's all she did in this book, fucking cry. Normally, I would have thought to clean myself up and put on this fake smile, went on my way back to Grandma's, but I was prepared to tell her everything. She was the only thing I had that was genuine and real in this world, and I needed to be honest with her about all that I've been through. I knew she would never judge me nor steer me wrong, and when I got to Grandma's, I knocked for 20 minutes with no answer. Her car was in the driveway, so I figured maybe she was asleep or couldn't hear me. She always kept the spare key in the backyard under this flower pot, so I grabbed it and let myself in. Don't tell me Grandma died. The house was so quiet you could hear it creak. I called for Grandma but got no response. I checked all the rooms, but she wasn't there. In the dining room, I saw a huge envelope, my name on it, on the table next to a new vase. I guess my grandmother had got. So I figured I'd kill some time until she got back by reading my mail. The contents of the envelope changed my life forever, and it still remains the worst day of my life. In my absence, my grandmother had passed. She left me the car, the house, a huge lump sum, and some very expensive items in a safety deposit box. From what I read, they tried contacting me for weeks and even spoke with my boyfriend, but never heard back from me. A distant relative advised them to leave it on the table because they knew I'd eventually return. Can you imagine my pain? My grandma, the only person I had in this world. The only person who loved me. I didn't even get to see her and say my goodbyes, and I was so caught up in this mess with Rob that I never called home, and now she's gone. I couldn't stop the tears. I didn't give a damn about a house, a car, any of that shit. I wanted my grandma. I was so fucking hurt. I'm still hurt. But then the hurt turns to anger every time I think about the fact that this nigga knew. He knew when she got sick. He knew when they admitted her to the hospital. He knew when she passed, when they buried her. He knew every fucking thing but told me nothing. I hated him for this. Was it not enough that you beat me and slowly turned me into this person I didn't even recognize? Was it not enough that you gave me this disease that I have to live with until the day I close my eyes? Was it not enough you killed our unborn child? Was it not enough you had to take her from me too, right? My thoughts were racing fast and I felt sick. I had to get out of there. Does anybody feel sorry for her? Heaven, I need a hug. I couldn't bear to look at myself, at what I'd become. I didn't know this person, nor did I want to. I needed to stay clean and no, not from the drugs, but from him. He was the only addiction I couldn't kick, and I needed to find my way back to Jesus. I was so ashamed of myself, I oftentimes didn't pray. How could I talk to God knowing the things I was doing and a part of? After 5 long years of the back and forth, I was finally ready to walk away for good. I didn't know how I would stop him from popping up at my grandma's, especially with me being alone now, or anyone else for that matter. But right now, I didn't care. I was just thankful to be free and away from that place, chained like some kind of fucking animal. I took off as fast as possible and sped to the church I grew up in. I wasn't sure if my pastor would be there on a weekday, but I just needed to be in the presence of the Lord in the sanctuary. I needed to have a long talk with him, and I did. I cried harder than I ever had. I hollered, I prayed, I called out on our Father's name and begged for his mercy and forgiveness. The things I witnessed and participated in was far more than I could have ever described in this book, and it was horrifying. I needed the Lord to forgive me. I needed to know I was still his child and that it wasn't too late to turn all of this around. I surrendered myself to God and I vowed never to touch and abuse any illegal substance again. I vowed to never go back to rob no matter what. And I took a vow of celibacy and told God whatever path he saw fit was what I wanted for my life. I knew Rob would try to come to get me. I knew he would. I knew he threatened me, and I knew his little gang affiliation could real life have me 6 feet under if he gave them the word, but I couldn't control that. All I could control was my actions and leave the rest to God. So I begged the Lord for strength to stand strong in my decisions and faith in the midst of temptation from the enemy. I had made so many mistakes, but I didn't want to make any more. And I walked out of that church with a renewed mind. I knew all I had in this world was myself and God, and I knew I was going to have to be even stronger than before. I didn't have my Nana there to save me anymore, which made me more vulnerable. But I vowed to be strong. If I did anything, if it wasn't going to be fall weak and run back to him, if I did anything, it wasn't going to fall weak and run back to him. God is the only man I need. I felt that then, and I know that now. And then those who know of us always ask, if I can do it again, would I? Would you? Would you want to relive this hell? Would you want your mind fucked to this extent? I'm not normal because of the fucked up shit I've been through. I deal with guilt, pain, anger, and hatred every day, and it's mostly hatred towards myself because I can't understand why after all the shit he's done to me, I still love him. I can't understand why I'm so fucked up in the head that I can love someone like that. Someone who did these things to me. Someone who truly loves you wouldn't hurt you. Someone who truly loves you wouldn't isolate you. Someone who truly loves you wouldn't want to share you with anyone. You alone would be enough for someone who truly loves you, but not for him. No one will ever be enough for him, and he can never truly love anyone because he doesn't love himself. And I have to cope with knowing that I love a nigga this cold, that I chased him and pursued this hell. I did it. I have to accept the fact that I allowed him to control and manipulate me. I have to take ownership for all of those fucked up decisions. Then it gets me to thinking, why do we hold on to people who deep down we are unhappy with? Why do we sacrifice happiness elsewhere to stay where we don't fit? Why do we allow ourselves to be belittled and mistreated? Why do we know better but not do better? Why is it so hard to let go? When does it end? I have to find a way to deal with the memories that won't leave my mind, both good and bad. I have to deal with seeing shit about him and hearing shit about him everywhere I go. I live in fear of the things he'll do because he has people watch me, even till this day. My house, my social media accounts. I've even been followed while driving. Boyfriends I tried to have since him have mysteriously disappeared or been beaten up and stopped dealing with me. No one understands the constant reminders I live with. So for me, it's a no. I wouldn't. My apologies. For those of you who are reading this, because you know exactly who this is about and want to take a full walk in my shoes with this experience, I apologize. I gave what I could and tried to be as descriptive as possible with the incidents I could remember in full detail. I didn't want to focus on dates, locations, and others involved as much as the types of things I experienced during this relationship. I wanted it to feel real to you. I wanted you to feel like you were there, but there's no way I could possibly give you the entire 5 years. What I have sounds like a full motion picture, even to me. So imagine the full 5 years. We had so many ups and downs. There was a lot of craziness and a lot of laughs and even more tears. I'm not really an author, and I was never that good in English class. So also forgive me for any typos and errors. I'm sorry if I was all over the place, but that's kind of how my feelings are. Even now, one minute I hate them, and then I may think of some of the good times and smile. It's an emotional roller coaster daily for me. It took a lot for me to put this online. I was so scared and I didn't even publish it under my name. That alone should say a lot. For those of you who may have been insulted or repulsed by the amount of graphic sexual content or constant use of profanity, I apologize. Apology accepted, dingbat. I'm an extremely blunt person. I'm still young and I'm just an around the way girl. I'm no published public figure, and all I know how to do is give it to you raw and uncut. For anyone I may have offended, I apologize. That's it. The end. Finito. All right. Um, are you still there? Hope? No, he didn't have sex with Granny. Maybe he did. Maybe she left it out. I wouldn't be surprised if he was knocking Granny's boots. I wouldn't be surprised if he fucked Granny to death. But that's just a ridiculous story, a ridiculous experience. But when you're a grown man, that's why men in their 40s and 30s, they dealing with teenagers and young girls because they know they can do this dumb shit. In fact, a young dumb bitch with herpes, And her stupid ass still stay. Fuck her cousin. Yeah, she'll get mad and run away. But she young and dumb. She'll be back. All types of shit. You know, that's why anytime you see an older man always dating women 19, 20, always in their 20s, and he 15, 20, 25, 30 years older, something wrong with that man. He's sick in the fucking head like R. Kelly says he is in his book, according to the little freak. Something fucking wrong with him. Older men only date real young girls like that because they want to control them. They're inadequate in every other aspect of their life. You have this man with an abundance of talent, can sing like a fucking bird, a musical genius. But this other side to him, and I mean, hey, I'd have left his ass at the point of him wanting my piss. What the fuck you want my piss for? You ain't no medical doctor. But when you young, dumb, and full of cum, you don't question shit. You just say yes, daddy, and oblige. Couldn't be me. That's why it's important to raise children with a healthy self-esteem. Stop yelling at your children, criticizing them, making them question their thoughts, making them afraid to tell you what's on their mind, to come and talk to them because you chop them down. You know, you got to stop doing that. If they don't make up their bed correctly, show them and say, now I want you to do it this way. And even if they don't do it 100% right the second time, assist them a little bit more and tell them, you know, good job. Teach them to be resilient. You're always yelling and screaming at your kids and calling them names. You deplete their self-esteem. And then when they become teenagers, they start doing what this damn chick did. They start running with the wrong crowd, seeking acceptance. Anyway, I'm done with this story. Doesn't seem like anybody wants to have a discussion about it. But before I go, you four people, do you have any thoughts? You're welcome, Zero. Any thoughts, any comments before I go about what was read, what you heard? Do you believe this story or do you think it's pure fiction? Who do you think actually wrote it? What's your theory? Do you think the person who wrote it is still with him? I wonder. All right. Well, nobody's chatting. Nobody's saying anything. It's all good. I hope all of you, present and future, who have listened to all 3 parts, thank you so much for coming to my channel. Thank you for hitting the like button. And just thank you. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so. And I'll see you soon. All right, I'm going to go now. Thank you, all of you in the chat room. And I shall catch you later. Ciao.